Alola, I had to use that stupid line for this. Because I guarantee, this is a random topic from the beginning of the video, but I guarantee almost every YouTuber who has made a video over this game, like with voice or whatever, has said Alola in it. I know for sure. But greetings, such a voice for just Lance the Pants here today to talk about Pokemon Moon, and I guess Pokemon Sun. Because I got that game about a week ago, well, Pokemon Moon to be precise, and I played it, and it was good. I will admit, I was shocked, actually, how much, I don't want to say I didn't love it by any means, but I enjoyed it. It was a game, you can play it, and you can get it for $40 now at Walmart.com. Not Walmart.com. You can get it anywhere, except, well, not anywhere. That's not the point of this video, though. Pokemon Moon came out a week ago, and to say I was hyped for the game would be a lie, because honestly, I wasn't very hyped for this game, which I don't know if that's because Pokemon being yearly for a couple of years just kind of I don't want to say burned me out. Well, I guess burned me out it's close enough, where I just can't get excited for Pokemon. And I blame X and Y and Oris for that, because a bit of a history lesson right here for those who probably don't care. X and Y and Oris were such basic games in the sense that they did their job for what they were, but they never really went above and beyond. Where you have X and Y, which I think as a main game was fun, but honestly, it's not very memorable. Oris, whereas Gen 3, and I like Gen 3, I have to remember it, but if I would never play Gen 3 before that, Oris would have been really boring to me. Because it's just little details you catch. My opinion on those games has changed massively from when I did impressions videos. And I feel like those games are very rushed and very lazy, so I didn't have big expectations for this game, especially from the trailers, because it added things I just didn't like the Alola forms. I don't like when Pokemon get more forms than they are. I think I don't want to say lazy. I don't want to say it's lazy, but I don't like it. I don't know, something, it's even like with Kyurem. I never liked that it got 2 forms in Black and White 2. I always thought, you know what, they're just doing this just because they can't think of anything. And I think the Alola one's kind of, I don't want to say, gave me a non-flashback, but it reminded me of that, and I just didn't like it. And it didn't leave me with the best impression, because this game doesn't have gyms, and I thought, oh, they're just gonna try something new for the 20th anniversary game and see if it sticks, and if it doesn't, then they're just gonna leave it, and it could really suck. And I was very worried about this when the game came out, and I was like, well, it doesn't have gyms, it's probably gonna be super short, because there's not much they can do without gyms, like, it's just gonna be like a random RPG where you just fight like an evil team, because that's basically what the GameCube games are. I mean, the GameCubes are good, but, you know, they're short for Pokemon games. Well, Coliseum is. XD's, it has a decent length. But I was very worried about this, and even when trailers came out, I was like, you know, it looks fun and I'll get it, but I'm just not very excited for it. Well, last week, I got talked into it, and I ended up buying Pokemon Moon because my friends are buying it. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good game. There are some things about it I don't like, and there are things I do. One thing I will say this game does have over on Gen 6 is personality. This game knows it's an anniversary game, and it has references to past games. It does a lot of things where it's enough new. It doesn't. I think this game does nostalgia right, where it gives you nostalgia in small doses, and they're spaced out. While it does do something new. That was a problem with X and Y, where it was just nostalgia overload, and it held your hand way too much, where, if you want a good example, X and Y gives you too much. I never liked the experience share could level up our Pokemon. It makes the game far too easy. No, this game keeps that, but I don't know if it's me, I think they altered it a bit, where I think it takes longer for your Pokemon to evolve. I could be wrong on this, but it doesn't, this game's, the difficulty is higher, that's the thing. X and Y is so piss easy because they give you so much. The examples I was about to bring up is they give you a free Lucario, a free starter, or Calypso, they have to do that. They give you a free Kanto starter, they give you a free Lapras. They give you so much free stuff where the game's just boring. And that's the worst thing you can do, and this game fixes that. I'm not going to say this game's easy, because or I'm not gonna say this game's like super hard, because it's not. There are some parts that are a bit challenging, but this game has I don't want to say it's completely easy, because for the most part, it's a Pokemon game. You're not going to expect, like, super, like, I'm not going to say Dark Souls is super hard, but you're not going to expect, like, Dark Souls levels of difficulty. I would say it's around the same difficulty as maybe Gen 2, maybe even Gen 1, somewhere around there, where it's not hard, but there are parts that will challenge you, which I'm glad, because I like a short, easy game like Kirby, but for an RPG, which is long, it needs to keep me interested, and hard stuff that's not super, like, BS is a good way to keep me interested. I changed topics multiple times doing that, and I'm sure I forgot to make a point about something, but I can't remember. But like I said, this game doesn't have Pokemon Gyms. Pokemon Gyms. It has trials, which are one thing that, like I said, I was very worried about, because I was like, well, these are probably going to be super short or boring, and I have to somewhat agree, where the trials didn't really do a lot for me. I think the idea is great, doing something opposed to the gyms where it's more like side questy, kind of like a Final Fantasy game. But the execution for some of these trials just does not work. I wish you could fight the trial captains. I don't know if that's just where I want to have a gym leader to fight, but I feel like there weren't enough boss battles in this game, which is good and bad, where I think it's a good way to space. They did space them out pretty well, where really the only boss battles you have in this game are the Kahunas, the evil team leaders, and later game stuff, and I guess legendaries. And that works, but I do wish there was a few more boss fights. I don't know if I'm just, like I said, if I'm spoiled on the past games or not, but that's just the thing I had. Music-wise, this is the big part that people may disagree with me, I don't know. But I think the music for this game was kind of forgettable. I can't remember it. Like, I can remember the amount of songs on probably one hand, where I can remember the evil team leader theme, the final boss theme, the opening theme, the Tapu themes, or the Tapu's theme. There you go, and I can't say the other thing because that's a spoiler. So it's weird because the weird thing isn't. While this game does have a lot of personality, I will say the locations are, to me, very forgettable. I think it has the Hoenn problem, where a lot of the areas kind of just mesh together. Where it's a lot of, like, I don't know if it's all water, but it's on Hawaii. So, like, I think they kind of, how do I put it, shot themselves in the foot. Where there's not a lot of difference you can do. The fourth island is the most memorable island because it has, like, a canyon. That's the only reason, because it sticks out to me. The others are usually like, oh, here's, like, tropical stuff, and here's some water and an ocean, and, like, water and ocean, same thing, but I don't know, something about, like, the island just didn't stick out. But I will say this, the first island is very slow-paced. I didn't like that, because this is a slight spoiler, but you don't get your starter Pokemon until about, like, 20 minutes into the game, and that would kill me in a lot of other games if it wasn't Pokemon. And that sounds very fanboyish, I know, it doesn't intend to. They do an okay job explain. It's not, okay, let me explain. It's not Black and White 1's level of slow pacing in the beginning. They do pack in story content, and this is one thing I will give this. This game starts out like an actual, like, RPG would, like a Final Fantasy game. It actually has cutscenes at the beginning, which blew my mind. I'm like, oh my god, it's a Pokemon game with cutscenes. And then it cuts to, like, the actual start of the game, and I love that. I don't know why, but any game that starts with a cutscene and shows the title is such a big thing for me in 2016, well, almost 2017, and I don't know why. I love that. I think they do make a lot of changes, and it does seem like from this game they are trying to change things, which, as opposed to X and Y, which they play too safe. This game, I feel, should have been the first 3D Pokemon game that we got back in 2013, where it is a change of pace, where it's not exactly an RPG, well, it's an RPG, but it's not like, how do I put this? It's just a change from the norm, and I like that. And it's not, I don't want to say it's not rushed, because the post-game, you can tell that it was a rushed game, but how do I want to put this? It's different. I think that's why a lot of people were so excited over this, along with the Pokemon Go thing, which added to it. People saw this was different, and, you know, they're like, you know what, I played Pokemon as a kid. Don't get me wrong, the advertising for this game was great as well. But I think that got a lot of people into it. That was what I was most interested in. It was saying, how well is this going to work? Because without the trials, I thought this game was going to be so short. And you know what? It's counting post-game, I spent 30 hours into it, which I think is good for a Pokemon game. Considering if you go to X and Y and Oris, you can beat those in about 20 hours. They're pretty short games, and they have no post-game, which ruins it. I'm trying to find a way to work my mind around going into spoiler territory, because I will put an annotation up saying I got a spoiler talk here for those who want to know. I will just kind of put here, if you do want to play Pokemon Sun and Moon, I do think it is worth the $40, but if you're not sure how you're gonna feel about these trials, I do recommend waiting, I guess, a little bit, just to rent it first, and if you like it, then actually buy it. That's the best way to put this. Now I'm going to transition to spoiler territory, so I will talk more about the actual game in this, so I do apologize if I couldn't go into it more, but I have to mention spoilers for some of this stuff. So, I'll give you 5 quick seconds to drop the video if you don't want to. So, enjoy 5 seconds of silence. I'm pretty sure that was 6 seconds, but you know what the point is. Don't judge me. I'll put you on the list. Nobody's gonna get that reference. Pokemon Sun and Moon is a game that's the main point. That's like the interview, roll credits, you know. But I do want to say this here. This game's story is very, very shallow. In the sense that I feel like the story in general got pushed to the side a lot for stuff that I feel like they just wanted a basic adventure. And the best way to prove this is that about halfway into the game, they introduce the Aether Foundation, and then they tease, oh, Lucamine is evil, and they just push her to the side, and she doesn't show up till like the 7th trial, I think, and that bugs me. I understand they wanted the swerve, like, oh, Team Skull is not the actual, like, villainous team, but at that point, I think this is the thing I think it's rushed. I think the Aether Foundation got introduced later into the game, because it randomly, you find out they're evil, like, after this, I mean, you know they're evil, because you see Lucamine's evil smirk, and she's literally, if you don't believe me, you need to watch Kill la Kill, she's literally Ragyo Kiryuin, and that bugged me so much when I saw her character. I'm like, oh my god, this is Ragyo. But, this is a really weird topic change, but I didn't like that. I wish we would have got more of the Aether Foundation, because I do think some things they do are interesting. And they're like Team Plasma. Well, they're really the opposite of Team Plasma, in a way, where Team Plasma was all about helping Pokemon, and they say they want to help Pokemon, but they're really just doing experiments. And this could have been very interesting, to think what they did, because they introduced Pokemon in this game called Hypnol, which is basically a bunch of Pokemon combined. It's basically an artificial Arceus, or Arceus, which I think if they would have delved more into this, it would have been so interesting. And obviously it's Pokemon, they want to get too, like, edgy and dark, which is shocking, because they mentioned death in this game, and that blew my mind, just because it's a kid's game, and I don't think Pokemon has ever mentioned, like, ever said, like, die or death, and that, I don't know why that was such a big deal to me, but when I saw, I think it was Lily, mentioned, like, oh, Cosmog is gonna die. I was like, oh my god, they're gonna kill Cosmog. Well, they're not gonna kill Cosmog, but, like, they mentioned Cosmog will die, and I don't know why that was such a big deal, but I like that. It depends. For, like, I think if the game can set their pacing right, or not pacing, their tone right, they can be darker, and that works for Pokemon sometimes, and other times it doesn't. Team Skull, I will admit, they are literally the best parts of this game. They are, in terms of dialogue, they are so funny. I don't know what, their, like, movements, like, when you see them in the game, crack me up, their dialogue just super funny. And it's weird, because when they got introduced, I was like, you know what, I'm probably not gonna like these guys. They just seem a bit obnoxious. And I did. Honestly, they're better than the Aether Foundation. The Aether Foundation, I mean, you only fight them for one area. And then you fight Lucamine in the Ultra Space, which I do want to get into later on. Well, you know, I'll get into it now. This game is Ultra Beasts, and they're a bit, I don't know if they're a big focus of the game, but they're nothing. I think these got put in later in the game, because they only really show up around the Aether stuff. That's it. And I wanted to see more of this, because Aura set up this kind of interesting, not theory, but I'll say topic, because I can't think of the actual thing, of, like, alternate dimensions. And I think this could work very well with this series. And they dive into it with the Ultra Beasts, where they're from different dimensions. And they kind of cause a few plot holes, I guess. But you go into the Ultra Space, which reminds me of Planet Phazon from Metroid Prime. Which, a lot of things remind me of Metroid Prime, because that's a great game. But, well, it's a great series in general. But, just, they could have done so much more with this. And I thought in the post-game where you catch the Ultra Beast would have been very interesting. Maybe I can go back to the Ultra Space and explore more. Kind of be like the Distortion world. That's really what it's just like. It's like the 3D Distortion world. It's the best way to put that. Except it's less interesting. It's like a hallway and that's it. Going back into Lucamine, her final boss. She's not the final boss, but like her second boss fight where she transforms with, I think it's Nihilego? I don't know how you say that. The jellyfish thing that looks like Lily, but it's not actually Lily. That was weird. And I like it, but it came out of nowhere. I feel like they should have set that up more. Like, oh, she wants to be an Ultra. Well, she wants to be an Ultra, basically. And she loves them. And I wish they would have set that up more, because it just comes out of nowhere. And that's a lot of things, like, some of the story just comes out of nowhere, and it's very shallow. Which, it sucks, because I don't want to say, like, Black and White 1 or, like, amazing forms of storytelling. But it worked for what it was. This game, it just kind of came out of left field. I don't know what it was. It just felt rushed. The story did. The main game's good. It's just, with that, I feel like, I feel like Team Skull were the main villains for the entire game until the Aether Foundation. This game does introduce Lily, who is like she's the most precious thing ever. She's not like the best character in the series, but I do like Lily. I don't know what it is. I kind of wish she was the main, like, in the GameCube, like, in, Coliseum. I wish she stuck with you throughout the entire game. And she does have a character arc. She's really the only character in this game to have a character arc. And for what it is, it's a good character arc. She basically just gets braver and stands up to her mom, and she becomes a Pokemon trainer at the end and goes to Kanto, which was a nice nod. And one thing they do mention, apparently, and I just learned about this today, I never saw this, is Pokemon, apparently, when you turn 20, you have to, like, stop being a Pokemon champion, like a trainer, if you don't do much. Or most people retire as a Pokemon trainer, which was interesting, and because this is the 20th anniversary, obviously, and I'm 20, and it threw me off. This game felt like, and it sounds really weird, and this won't be the last Pokemon game, it makes so much money, but if they would have stopped the series here, with some of the things they add to it, I think I would be fine with that. Because the ending wraps, I think, the series up in a nice bow, where Lily goes to Kanto, and it's like a new generation, and where you fight 20-year-old Red and Green, or Blue, whatever. It was nice, and I really like that. And I wish, I don't know, I like stuff like that. And honestly, if she could get her own side game, I'd probably play that. I don't know, she was a very interesting character, and I won't mind if this game gets, like, a sequel, like, a couple years later. That would be really interesting. And they kind of set it up where I think they could do a sequel to this. Because, obviously in this game, like I said, you don't have gym leaders, you have the trials. Well, Professor Kukui sets up a Pokemon League, where basically the Kahunas are the Elite Four, and you become the first champion of the Alola region, which was really awesome. And you actually defend your championship, which is something I have always wanted, because it doesn't make any sense for me to go fight the Elite Four again and the champions there. I can accept that for the first 2 games, because they were on limited hardware, but it was so interesting for that, and I love that. The only thing about this game that really, really irritates me, like, to no end, is the fact that the post-game is so rushed, and they did this, they had this problem with Oris and X and Y, and it sucks, because when I play, don't get me wrong, there is a post-game, but it's so bare bones, where literally it's the looker missions from X and Y, except you're catching Ultra Beasts. Interesting thing, going back to the story though, is that Annabelle, who is a Frontier Brain from Gen 3, comes back, and basically she's from another dimension, and the Ultra Beasts want to get her, because she has like Ultra Beast, like, I don't want to say smell, but that's basically what it is. And the Ultra Beast, like, basically want to come after her, and you have to stop the Ultra Beast. This is an interesting concept, but in execution, it sucks. because literally what you're doing is going to past areas and catching these Ultra Beasts. And it's not even like, oh, they're legendaries, this is super cool, you know? It's the fact that, for a good example, there is an Ultra Beast called, it's the girl one in Moon, her prototype name is like Beauty, where you're catching 4 of those. And that just isn't fun to me. I don't know, I think they should just let you capture 1, because that's just tease, and it felt like filler. That's my main problem, is it adds nothing. And it's like, oh hey, I have 4 of this Ultra Beast. Like, I guess if somebody wants it, I can trade it to them. And I know Sun does this with the red Ultra Beast as well. I'm just gonna quickly describe the post-game in a nutshell, for those who really care. Basically, the post-game is, you catch the remaining 3 not Tapu Kokos, the Tapus, who, I can't think of which one, I think it's not Tapu Lele, it's not Tapu Bulu, it's the water one, is incredibly hard to catch. Not because it's, like, a tough fight, it's the fact that that Pokemon is Aqua Ring, and basically, what it will do is, when I fought it, I got it down to 1 HP, and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna get it, like, 2 Pokeballs at least! And, it took me, I believe, 30 Pokeballs, just because this stupid thing would keep using Aqua Ring, and it would keep getting, like, health back, and, like, I don't want to do more damage and kill it, because I don't want to do a Pokemon fight, or, like, a legendary fight. That one's really annoying. That's the only one I really had trouble with. The other ones are pretty easy, especially Tapu Koko, who you fight after you become the Pokemon League champion after fighting Professor Kukui. Which I didn't bring up. That is the coolest part of this game, that you can fight the champion, or the Professor is the final fight, which is obviously a reference to Pokemon, well, Gen 1, when Professor Oak was going to be the champion, which I love that. That's really cool. Because originally I was like, oh, they'll probably do a callback to, like, Gen 1, and it'll be like Hall, or how do you say, he's super lame, or Gladion, or something, who's an Edgelord. I do, up next, I'm trying to think, I did the Ultra Beast thing, and that was really lame. The sad thing about that is, one of my favorite things to do in Pokemon games is when you can get an extra dungeon at the end, and there's a Pokemon at the end. It has like a cool looking model, like you get from like, Gen 3, you got like Rayquaza in the Sky Tower, or in, Diamond and Pearl, you got, Giratina, and I guess even in X and Y, you got, well, even in X and Y, you got Zygarde or Zygarde, who didn't get a game, and it doesn't even get his own boss fight in this game, which is funny. You just get the cells and you make him, and you don't get that in this game for the last Ultra Beast, who I think deserved it, because he's the coolest looking Ultra Beast, and he doesn't get anything, which made me sad. But even like the special legendary Necrozma, I think it's his name, doesn't get anything. He doesn't get an extra dungeon, he doesn't get a cool looking model. Literally, his fight is going to, it's like the 10-cart hill, and basically you just run around in circles in one patch of grass until you get him. And that's it. And I guess he's the 3rd version legendary? I don't know. And that's really sad, because I read his Pokedex. He has 2 different Pokedex entries, one for Moon and one for Sun, and the one for Sun is really interesting, where it's like, he apparently can like go through like the worlds and stuff, or the dimensions. I'm like, dude, that's so cool. And I hope if they make the sequel or the 3rd version, that I'm sure he'll be the legendary for it, because he's not even hyped up, but I wish he would have got his own dungeon, and got his own cool looking model, it maybe even a cutscene. It would have been so cool, and they didn't do that. The post game has more than X and Y and Oris, but it's still not enough for me to be like, you know what, that was great. And that's sad after we had such an excellent post game, and I won't count Heart Gold and Soul Silver because that was the original game, but Black and White 2, where we had, oh, I forgot to mention the Battle Tree, this ties into it. In Black and White 2, we had the tournament where you could fight every past gym leader and every past champion, and that was amazing. I loved that. It's worth it. In Sun and Moon, you have the Battle Tree, which I thought was going to be really cool. It's like, oh, all these past champions and all these past important characters are going to come back and be in 3D and get remixed battle music, and that doesn't happen. The only returning characters who you fight on the Battle Tree are Red, Blue,
Cynthia, who doesn't get remixed to music, by the way. I think she just has her black and white music. I could be wrong on that. Grimsley he's the dark type Elite Four trainer from Black and White 1 and 2. I'm trying to think who he is. Wally from Gen 3, and he has the same thing from Morris. I can put up with that, I guess. And Annabelle, this is really pissing me off. She uses the GBA Battle Frontier theme from Emerald. This is just a me thing, but if you're gonna do this, one, I can understand if you're not gonna have every trainer, the least you could do is have every champion. Or, I think you should have every gym leader, but you could at least have every champion. And the dumb thing about this is I thought it was kind of like the tournaments where you would fight like a gym leader for each region, and you'd get to their champion and fight them. No, what it is, it's pretty much the Battle Mason, except that you're on a tree. Now, I don't really like the Battle Frontier. I don't even like the Battle Mason. I think they're stupid. Yes, they test you because their Pokemon are good, but I want something cool like the Pokemon World Tournament, which should have came back in X and Y. And in the next game, I hope it's there because that's such a cool thing, and they should have kept that. Would it eventually get kind of old? Yeah, but it's something I want to see in 3D, and I hope in the Rumored Stars game, this is something that returns, because it's such a cool concept. And the Battle Tree, don't get me wrong, you can fight Red or Blue before that, but you basically, after you beat them, if you want to fight them the hard way, you have to beat the Battle Tree. And I'm sorry, but I'll do it once, I'm not doing it again. It's a waste of time. I never liked it in Gen 3, I didn't like it all the way up till Gen 6, it's never fun. I don't know, it's really dumb, and I feel like the post-game is rushed like it was in the past 2 games. And that's sad because it has such good potential to be great, especially in this region where I thought with the whole dimension thing, what they could have done really cool, if they're not going to do that, is you can go back to Kalos, where you could fight the old gym leaders and fight Diantha or something. I would have loved that, but you can't do that. And it's something I hope in the sequel they kind of fix, where you can either go back. Oh, this is kind of something. You technically can go to another dimension if you go back to the Alter. Well, from a Moon version, it's Alter the Moon. I think it's Alter the Sun in the Sun, where you can go to the other version and pretty much get a Cosmog, which is the Pokemon that along with Lily. Which, by the way, somebody modded Lily and Cosmog into Smash Bros. As Rosalina and Luma, and that's pretty dope. I'm not gonna lie. But, I really wish that they would have done more with this. There's not enough to do, and it's the thing that I hated about X and Y and Oris was, once I beat the main game and the little post-game they had, I just don't go back to it. I'll probably go back, and I'll do the rematches with the Elite Four and the Champion defenses. Also, another interesting thing, there's a character in, the Champion defenses, he's like, I don't know what, I can't remember what his name is. He wears like all red, he's like a Dragon-type leader, or he's a Dragon-type trainer, and you never see him in the past games or in this game. I think he's either going to be something in Gen 8, or he's going to show up in Stars, something like that. I'm really making a big discussion over a future game, over a kid's game. Whatever, it's not a big deal. But, just to give my final thoughts over Sun and Moon, it is a fun game. I like the main game a lot, even though I will admit the first island is a bit slow paced. Also, I bring this up, they completely screwed Abra over in this game, where when Abra evolves into Kadabra, level 16, he learns Confusion. This game, it doesn't. I had a level 20 Abra before I dropped it, and it never learned any attack moves. And on the first island, it can't learn any attack moves, which is ridiculous. And it made me really upset, and I threatened to sue. I'm joking. But it's dumb, and I wanted my good Abra, so, I don't know, I did what I could. But, like, going back, Pokemon Sun and Moon is a good game. I do recommend it if you are a Pokemon fan or you want a good place to start in the series. I can't recommend, because some people said, like, oh, I'll just start with the originals on the eShop. I can't recommend that. I think if you're going to start anywhere currently, it's either to start with X and Y, which not only because nostalgia and it's an easy game to get into, or start here, because this game does so much right, I think, for the series, where it doesn't force-feed you old stuff like X and Y did. It has a lot of personality, it's very easy to get into, and it's a good mix of Gen 1 Pokemon and Gen 6 and this, the Alolan Pokemon. I think, I don't want to say this isn't the best Pokemon game. It doesn't beat, for me, it doesn't beat Argon Soul Silver, Black and White 1 and 2, but I would easily
put it over X and Y and Oris. Because like I said, it has more personality. It's just an overall more fun game, and it doesn't feel forced like those games do. It is the true, to me, the true first 3D Pokemon game on handheld that I legit will admit, like, okay, this is good. And I can't wait to see how they're going to up this. I do think the trials could have been done better. They're fun, but they could have been done better. And I hope in later games, if they follow this formula, they're going to expand upon it and make it more interesting. I don't even mind if they keep it like just a regular RPG and no gym battles anymore, like gym leaders. I don't mind. What I think they should do is I think they should switch every once in a while. They should do like a game like Sun and Moon where it's like no gym battles. You kind of just fight like an evil thing, kind of like I guess the GameCube game, for instance, and this. And then the next game is like gym, so that way you can cater to both fans. Like kind of like I guess what kind of like they're kind of doing with Sonic. I guess we're gonna have like a classic Sonic game and like a modern Sonic game. You got to cater to both, and I think that works. And that's another reason why I thought the Kalos thing should have been there. So if, like, the trials suck, people can have that. But that's just me. I enjoyed this game, and I do recommend it. I spent $40 on it, and I enjoyed it, and I probably would have spent 40, but 35, close enough. It's a fun game. I can recommend it. So I hope if you get it, you enjoy it. I can't really think of else to say with the video. If you want to talk more about this, you can always message me on... Actually, don't message me on YouTube. DM me on Twitter. I'll put a link in the description of my Twitter. If you want to talk about it. Because I like talking about Pokemon with people. It's a fun thing. Yeah. I can't really think of anything else to say. So I always like to ask a question in these impression videos. Who did you pick for a starter? If not, and you don't have the game, which starter would you pick between Rowlet, Litten, and Poplio? And if you have the game, what do you think of it? Yeah, that's all I got to say. So, I've been Lance the Pinch. Y'all been awesome, and have a great day. Later, guys.